let's bring everybody up here who's going to be on the panel. Come on up. I will sit on the edge. I know I said I haven't seen a microphone that I haven't wanted to talk into. I don't need two, so what do I do with this one? I promise you don't want me to do that.
Wait, we're keep adding competitions, but if someone can beatbox on the phone, I will definitely
Where's my phone?
I want to see that.
Okay, everybody, hi. Welcome to this afternoon's panel discussion, Thriving Through External Change, as opposed to the internal this morning. Kim mentioned Shannon Andersen, VP of Sales for Fexa, and I am joined up here by four wonderful thought leaders in our space who are not just navigating this, but really shaping how our industry is reacting to some of these external changes. Before we get started, I want to set the table for all of us around this topic. To be in facilities and maintenance today means living through disruption. Yes, tariffs, trade wars, the need to upgrade technology, AI, labor shortages, extreme weather, all of it. It is no longer the goal for teams like yours to create systems for times of stability. Not an option. It is about creating systems and teams who are going to navigate those changes seamlessly, who are going to maintain composure through those changes, and frankly, to identify areas of opportunity. So that's what we're going to talk about with these four fine folks today. I'll let them introduce themselves. They have graciously agreed to keep this as real as possible. We don't have all the answers right now. They're going to share what's working for them, what questions they don't have answered, what's not working, all of that. We'll save a little extra time for questions at the end. So if there's something that you're like, sort of sounds like a problem I'm having, how are you thinking about that? We'll solicit some of those at the end. So we'll just start with you and work our way down.
All right. Working?
You're blowing it. You're embarrassing us all.
Most of the people in the room who know me are not surprised that in fact I can't operate a microphone.
We got this far.
For those of you who I have not met, I am Grant Baecker, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Authority HVAC.
I hope this is working. Back again. So Frank Sullivan. I was a board member and investor in BrainBox, and I've been with the business for just a little over 5 years. Pleasure to be with you again.
Andrea Garza. I'm the Director of Facilities and Maintenance for Valvoline.
I'm on your train, Grant.
Come on.
Is it better? Yeah. Sat out of order completely, just threw everybody off there, but I think I bullied my way into the corner seat over here. Angela Tolmasoff, I'm the Director of Facilities and Maintenance for L'Oreal USA.
Thank you, everyone. Glad we worked out all the kinks here. So I'm going to start with Andrea because so many people in the room right now are experiencing growth in their business. Valvoline's no exception. I think the last few years you've added 150 stores a year.
We're adding about 100 company-owned stores a year, about 150 between company and franchise. Yes.
Wild. So what is one modernization effort, whether it's a process or a system or technology, that has helped you stay ahead of that growth curve?
One thing we looked at and implemented this year is a new CMMS platform. And part of the reason for this was to manage maintenance through that platform, but the other part of that is to manage our remodel program and major capital projects through that platform. And the theme that I think is so important as we modernize and scale is keeping all of our operations partners on the same page, giving them visibility into the work that we're doing, not just in work orders, but also in their major plans that are coming up. So is their store on a remodel list? Is there a project underway? Where is that project? And so we're working currently to get that system fully stood up so that our retail partners do have that full visibility that we want them to have. And that's really the biggest thing. But the theme that you'll hear me say throughout today and as we talk is collaboration. All the way, it's collaboration. How can we provide the most information without creating confusion, but also give the operational partners the information they need to really fully optimize their customer experience and deliver the value of the brand.
Information without confusion, I think that for me is a quote of the day, because I think we all live in this like information saturated world, and how do you make it really easy for people to self-solve problems within that? Super useful, thank you. Frank, very useful and exciting voice to have in the room with you. While I think BrainBox is about 10 years old, is that about right? In many industries, that might be sort of a newer company. In the AI world, that's like, there's like, they're the seniors in the space. So tell us a little bit about what you're hearing from your customers that's working or not working to stay ahead of operational disruption.
Appreciate the question, and again, appreciate being here. It's funny just to tip on that. When we were starting our journey 7-8 years ago, from concept to bootstrapping a business to standing here in front of all of you, we were evangelizing for a long time. Looking for, and people were afraid of artificial intelligence. What did it really mean? And if you follow all the trends, we're all the way to agentic AI, if anybody knows what that means. Essentially from generative AI, and there's been a series of migrations, and that will continue as it relates to computing power and the amount of use cases that people are using. So I guess my first comment is it's nice to not be an overnight success, but it's the journey takes a long time. And so stay the course. My answer to your question is really about partnership. And if you would frame the question, how do you best partner through operational challenges with your existing customers? As a supplier and a vendor partner, our message to the industry, and I know our peer vendors say the same, is stay flexible. There's an instance here with one of our largest customers that we now have become a more important provider in an area of the business that 18 months ago we didn't expect to even participate in. And there's an analogy, and it's a basketball analogy, about staying around the hoop. And if you're staying close to your customers' needs, there's always a transition of what you do for them every day. And if you partner well, the communication is fluid and consistent, and your execution level is at a certain, you're playing a certain game, you're going to have an opportunity to address further issues for them. Here's the trick, get ahead of those issues and bring a solution back to your partner. And the instance that I'm trying to drive home here is that this client in question was now trying to have a refrigeration rollout throughout their fleet, some 7,000 locations, and compliance as it relates to FDA regulations and the temperatures of the coolers to make sure that the food was maintained at a certain level was prioritized, and driving capital expenditures as it relates to creating visibility for that data. As I said 18 months ago, that wasn't on our sheet of things that we thought we would do well. And it became a natural adjacency for us, again, using technologies, using tools, but again, anticipating what your key vendor is your key customer is looking for, and staying curious within the account, and a natural extension of what we do. So we're using the tool sets and the digital capabilities to grow into another area. And I said, that continues to be an operational concern for them, but I think less and less it's a challenge. So one successful outcome.
Super interesting. And it's to think about from the operator's standpoint, who within your provider base are the people that you want near the hoop, who you think have some breadth in how they're operating and the problems that they're solving, where you trust to go to them with problems that they might not yet solve. I think it's a really, providers have to really earn their way into that, and I think BrainBox AI clearly has. Anything to add before we shift gears from anybody else on the panel? I'm coming to you. We're going to shift over to embracing the uncontrollable. Angela, the role that you have and the business that you run is unique. We were talking about this over our 10-course Peruvian dinner last night. If anybody else was there, it was delightful. External pressures are mounting, lots of uncertainty. How have you adapted your facilities approach to not just stay agile, but sort of elevate the work that you're doing to leaders who don't necessarily understand your facility space within your business?
Yeah, it's a great question. My team services, I counted for somebody last night. I think I stopped counting after 12. So 12 to 14 brands that L'Oreal owns. And so we really live through a simplistic day-to-day philosophy. So for us, it's Monday morning warm-up, carving out of that time out of your schedule Monday mornings, carving out core working hours in the afternoon, not scheduling conference calls that are longer than 45 minutes, at least giving a 48-hour, a 2-day notice before you're putting a conference call on someone's calendar. Really analyzing your audience's preferred method of communication. Are you being impulsive? Is this really a Teams urgent? Can you jump on a quick call? Is this an email? All of our brands are so different. So it forces you to stay agile in that environment because you really need to analyze what is the brand. Is this something, I heard something this morning that was when to triage or how to triage and when to act on it, right? So we naturally go into an expose theory within my team and our environment. And the philosophy is based upon we want to expose the managers on our team to positive exposure. They understand the brand DNA. Their cognitive flexibility is alive. They understand what's happening. They understand the brand's budget. We've heard a lot today about communication, partnership, collaboration. All of that kind of wraps into being truly cognitive flexible and understanding your client. And for us, the brands are our clients. So also not exposing them in a negative manner. So when you start tapping into leadership and senior leadership, we want to make sure that my other favorite word today was insulate. We insulate the negative exposure as you're growing and learning. Uncomfortability is growth. I love this morning when Kurt said, if you're not embarrassed about who you were 2 years ago, my little shoulders sunk. I was like, oh, that's me. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed of who I was 2 months ago, right? But that's what's growing and learning. So I think 2 hours ago, I saw the laugh. That's what keeps us agile for senior leadership so that when you are in that exposing environment, it's positive, it's amazing, but behind the scenes, you're still growing. Favorite thing I'm told weekly is, I don't talk to you anymore. I was like, that's right. You don't.
That's nice.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm still here. You just don't need me because the team is on positive exposure on the front.
Great subtle goal to strive for. What a great takeaway. Grant, in a time where there's a lot of economic uncertainty, CFOs tend to get a little, our CFO's in the room, so I have to be really nice here. They tend to scrutinize budgets a little bit more closely. How are you thinking about defending budget lines, proving value when CFOs are becoming more skeptical, more data-driven because more people are asking for budget increases, et cetera?
It's gotten really difficult. The pressures around the HVAC industry, which I think is a very underserved market, have been more challenging than at any point I can remember in the 20 years I've been doing this. One of the things we attempt to do, so a lot of times we're trying to help with the VPs that we talk to have these conversations with their CFOs because the CFOs, pardon my French, are kind of pissed. Like they see HVAC, they see that expense line go up every single year. The amount of HR issues, OSHA issues, store closure issues, posting, I'm a store employee at such and such a place and I'm hot and posting that on TikTok and having it go viral creates a lot of insane pressures that didn't exist 9 or 10 years ago. So we're doing a couple things that we're working really hard at. The first of which is we've had a self-perform footprint that we've been expanding for 10 or 11 years now. When we started the business, we were a subcontracted model, but now we can go to a customer and show how we're self-performing 60 or 70% of that work order load. So scaling that is hard, and doing that with a certain level of quality control is really hard, but we're focused hard on that. And the second of which is we're working hard and having these conversations with decision makers around how to synthesize the kind of things that we're talking about today. We just invested in our own new work order system that will hopefully allow us to integrate into all the different work order platforms, all the different energy management platforms. If there's an AI platform that someone's out there using that integrates into that. And so there's so much in this industry right now that is still a lot of manual analog processes that don't have to be there 4 or 5 years from now. So that's the story that we're trying to communicate. We're working hard to be empathetic when we're talking to customers, but it's still a dogfight. There's more work to be done.
We haven't talked enough about TikTok so far on this panel, so I appreciate you incorporating that in. That's good. I think providers and vendors are often the ones that sort of experience some of that change to begin with. And it was a conversation, I think somebody in the back, at that back table was talking about how it's about, like, maybe don't pass the cost on to us, but the reality, I think the real ask is, like, help us defend the ask. Help us pull data to rationalize why we're doing this, because nothing is worse than a growing budget without anything to back it up, or a growing cost without anything to back it up. Anything anybody wants to add? Otherwise, I'm going to pivot over to my favorite topic in this whole thing. I guess I didn't really give you a chance there. I said you're keeping me from my favorite topic. I'm a big believer in never wasting a crisis, and I think that facilities folks have a real opportunity for that. Andrea and I were having a conversation. I'm going to kick it back over to you. I was just sort of listing out all of these things that are happening. We have trade wars. We have the necessity to integrate AI all of a sudden, and we're all getting about 100 emails from different AI startups all the time, trying to figure out what to do. There's labor shortages. There's all these different things. And I was asking Andrea, like, how are you handling that? And she's like, this is sort of business as usual for us. And, the role in facilities is to handle that crisis. That's a real thing. So, Andrea, can you share a moment where pressure forced a pivot for your team and it actually improved the overall outcome?
Yes. So the conversation we were having, I think, was much about actually COVID and how the entire environment shifted. But I think in a lot of ways for maintenance and facilities, it stayed the same, right? Because a lot of what we do is react. We're agile. We make sure that we can come up with the best solution in the moment that meets our customer's need, our customer being operations or whoever that customer is. And I think what COVID did for a lot of us is gave our customer and our other partners insight into what we deal with every day. And so in some ways it helped us to be better partners, and it helped them to see through an empathetic lens what we do. I think for me in my current role, the pressure point is Valvoline has not had a comprehensive remodel program for our stores ever. So Jim is here. Jim's team has done an amazing job of being reactive and implementing preventative maintenance where they can, and coming up with great programs that keep our buildings running and keep our operations team able to serve the customers. And what we needed to do as a company is back that work up and invest in a major way in our capital program through a more comprehensive program. And so that's the way that we're pivoting to the pressure of having unplanned breakdowns, to the pressure of growing at the scale that we are. And I think as one of the selling points, as all companies, including ours, try to cut back on their expense line, try to cut back on their capital expenses as well, there's a real case to be made for investing in the infrastructure of our buildings, investing in the proactive and preventative programs. And it's not just the long term, it's the short term. How can we keep our buildings open and running optimally today? And I think that's a question that I heard quite a bit in the earlier sessions this morning was, how do we sell it if it's a 5-year payoff? It doesn't have to be. It's a today payoff. If we're more efficient today, if we can keep our buildings running and be able to foresee what's coming, what could break, then we're all in a better place today. We're able to serve our customer better today.
That's great. And Angela, you have talked, not just today or this week, but I've heard you talk about this a lot, the value of a strong vendor relationship and that really being sort of a stabilizing force. How have you created the space for your vendors to come to you with tough conversations and sort of keep plowing forward without it creating any disruption?
Yeah, maybe we'll pivot to Luke because I just gave him a vent session in the back corner. So reverse role. No, you're right. Transparency is everything. This is a family show, so I won't tell you all the fun details, but I've been called a lot of things throughout the journey. Feisty, straightforward. And to me, they're compliments. You got it. No need for all the dragged down drama, the A to Z story. I'm gonna go off on a fun fact. I bullied my way into this chair because I'm completely deaf in my left ear. It's my secret disability, right? And I can't think of the right description at the moment. Forgive me, but it's a terrible experience for me if I sit on the wrong side in the wrong environment. So Grant was gracious and said, "Where do you want to sit?" And I said, "I'm going to sit right here." And a lot of that goes into just the way that I was brought up. It's in the deaf culture, we talk a lot about an A to Z story because there's no change of tone. There's nothing verbally that goes into a story like with voice context when you grow up in a deaf environment. So I am that A to Z speaker, and it's always a long drawn out story, but it's straightforward, I promise. And it's feisty, Kathy, I promise. And so I've just kind of taken that into the professional environment and the same. We talk a lot about safe space. Even when amongst my team, we use that phrase, safe space, yep, everybody, don't take it personal. It's business. And we take the same thing out to our vendor relationships. And it's wonderful. It's really driven my team to the, storming, forming, norming. We are almost performing with this team that I have that is very junior, let me tell you, a mighty team of 3. And it's amazing. But I translate a lot of it back to, you can be A to Z, but let's be straightforward and get down to the necessary items. I love a site visit with a vendor. Someone will repeat that, but I do. I love going out to see vendors. Let me just see your makeup. I only need to be in here about 45 minutes. I don't need a QBR. I've heard a lot about QBRs today. Maybe I'm an anomaly. I don't do a lot of QBRs. A scorecard is a scorecard, but herding techs is herding cats. So I just can't base a vendor relationship off of a scorecard that a beautiful Fexalytics will give me. I can't. There's more to it than that. And so, yes, it definitely leads into transparency. Safe spaces, talking about it. I recently signed a MSA with a primary provider for a ton of trades. And once a week, I met with their, let me just call it their work order team, right? Their work order team that's running all these different work orders. For me to expect them to understand exactly what we're looking for to this brand, to this brand, to this brand, my team was not being insulated. And so I jumped in and I meet now with that work order team once a week, and they bring me their one-off, their crazy problems, and I just spend that 45 minutes going over with them, this is what we're looking for, this is what I want you to think of, this is how I want you to think outside the box. Super successful. within just about 6 weeks. So now I'm on to the HVAC team. They love me. They don't. I'm totally lying. But going over with them, no, we can't do that. These are our lease obligations. We've shared the documentation with you. Let's take a look at, something that Authority talked about earlier. Wow, what a great model that if I had that in my back pocket, that would be amazing. The references to assets that Fexa gives me, and my primary provider has an admin login to make my life easier, and they know when to use it and abuse it, right? Building the trust, having the transparent conversations. I think it's the best part of this job. And it really allows my team to work the front lines, grow their knowledge of L'Oreal in general, and allows me to do director things, I like to call it. It's the funnest part, get out into stores, see vendors. But I think it dials into having that safe space, and it is built. You don't just walk in and you have it. I heard someone else say earlier, like, not everyone's for everyone. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I love that saying. Sometimes a business relationship just doesn't work out. As a retailer, I don't care if you're self-performing or not. I don't lie. I heard someone say, we're good at this, this, and this. Oh, yes, I love that. Tell me what you're good at. No need for us to talk about all the things that you're not good at. You knew you weren't good at it. You should have just told me from the get-go, but got to build a safe space.
Love it. We're going to do a little round robin. What is, with all of the uncertainty and change, what is one area of your business, and maybe we'll just start and work our way down. What's one area of your business that you're watching really closely right now?
I honestly, so in some ways, I wonder if industry isn't really uniquely prepared to handle the uncertainty that is around the country. Actually, if there's any proof positive, it's the fact we just had this 10-minute thing on tariffs, and everyone's like, well, has anyone speak about anything? And this room is like, we've been dealing with uncertainty every single day for the last 15 or 20 years. So who are you to tell us why we should be freaked out? This is an industry and leaders in the room that have kind of an innate understanding of uncertainty, things that can go wrong, understanding how to stay focused on the next steps, how to stay calm, how to not react, and I guess to pull a golf term, how to play the ball where it lies, basically. And that's really how we're kind of managing the business at Authority HVAC. We don't pretend to know. We go through a lot of if-then scenarios. If we start to see this happen, then we know we need to do this. If we see that happen, we know we need to start doing that. But honestly, I'm much more focused on where this industry is going to be 4 or 5 years from now and what those solutions ought to look like than I really am the next 4 or 5 months. I don't care.
Super interesting. That will be a takeaway for me for this entire day. It is the 4-year big change versus the near term. Frank, how about you? What part of your business are you keeping an eye on right now?
Yeah, lots.
Yeah, I have to imagine.
I think for relevance for the crowd, number one, I'm colorblind. So that's my secret. So this red-green team stuff is driving me berserk.
Should have done shapes.
But I'm doing my best. There's a couple of areas that we're focused on. One, startup, scale-up businesses promise this and need to continue to deliver at that level. So staffing and keeping the caliber of the individuals as we're lucky enough to partner with various companies in North America and in Europe to be able to continue to deliver. That goes to culture. You're always going to have a degree of attrition, but to hire the right talent, you've got to live and walk the talk. So I'm desperately concerned about, the 35 requisitions that we have open, that we're going to be able to capture the right level of talent and capability, and to maintain this little challenging culture that we've brought to the industry. On a different tangent, what I continue to be concerned about is the types of questions that we get back from compliance officers, chief legal officers of our companies. We're here looking at new tool sets. AI very generally is a new tool set. It's a wrench. It's a wrench that you bring to the job. And yet the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that exists within let's call it the C-suite that we all support, about, well, what's my data going to be doing and where is it going? What models am I training? Who owns what? These are valid concerns, but there is a light that we collectively need to shine on that area. Very transparent the way we all operate and peers of ours operate in the industry. And there is so much fear about the unknown. It's slowing down procurement process. It's lengthening MSA negotiations that are wonderful bonding experiences.
love that. It's like summer camp.
And will yield benefits down the road. But there's a great degree of uncertainty, and so we tend to be chief education people. And if I can encourage one thing as and it's a concern that I think is going to slow down the rate of adoption, that the stats that we all saw in everyone's presentations around that the industry is short on key talent, the tools are there. And so bring us in to your conversations. We'll bring our chief compliance officers. Our industry partners sitting beside me will do the same. There is no need to be fearful of a net transition of productivity, and that concern and the resistance from many, many companies about how tentative they want to take what I believe could be a huge productivity step is challenging growth for the entire industry. So there's no easy path to getting over education, comfort, and compliance, but don't wait till the end of an MSA in order to negotiate it. Treat it up front, and industry partners need to collaborate in order to do that successfully.
Don't we know it? Okay, let's keep moving down. How about you, Andrea? What part of your business are you keeping an eye on?
So the part of the business I'm keeping an eye on is really not shifting. My focus is on making sure my teams have a seat at the table. So making sure maintenance and facilities both have an opportunity to have their voices heard, to make the rest of the organization understand how they are relevant, how they are partners, not on the opposite side of the table, but truly they want to partner. They want to enable the operations team and the other organizations we serve to do their jobs and to serve our customers. And so my focus is, of course, simultaneously on building systems and processes to make sure that they will, as we scale, continue to have that seat, to make sure that we have systems like a design review, right? Where someone in the organization wants to change an element of a store, and maybe it's just in one market or one store. Well, that's not scalable. So looking at systems like that, where operations and other teams across the organization have a space to be heard, and also a space for maintenance and facilities to step in and say, hey, wait, no, we can't. We can't just change this one piece of equipment because we can't service it. And then you won't be able to serve your customers. So things like that, that's my focus. But really making sure facilities and maintenance are heard, respected, appreciated, and have that seat as a strategic partner as we grow.
I love all of those answers, but I'm watching two different things, so kind of a two-sided question answer for me. But definitely emergencies. We're awfully low. It seems very strange. We're trending at about 10 emergencies on average. We usually sit anywhere from 35 to 50, so it's a huge drop. So just trying to drive. What are the drivers behind that? What's happening there? So many of you would probably say, just be quiet. Don't worry about it. I know. It's summer's around the corner, but it's a huge drop. So I'm watching that and trying to figure out the factors behind the low call volume overall. And I am accepting, that was my best chosen word, I am accepting 150 new stores into my portfolio by the end of Q3. So it's going to be an amazing summer. I'm so excited. And so that's another project that I have.
100 new stores, is that through acquisition?
It is, yeah. So, yeah. I'm NDA sealed, right? But yeah, through acquisitions and onboarding of another brand and all kinds of fun things. So it's going to be new and exciting for us. So never a dull moment, of course, in facilities. Those are two items I'm watching, but I want to make sure that I take a minute to thank you for allowing Frank and I to create a safe space and share with you our vulnerability, because invisible disabilities are a real thing. So I appreciate you for giving us that safe space.
We're going to open it up. We have about 5 minutes left. We're going to open it up for questions.
We get paid by the question, don't we?
Yeah, and I am better at this than you are. I can sit in silence longer than you all.
Any questions for the panel? I mean, were you guys really that good? You just covered everything the first try. Is that why you're so far along? Yes, post-lunch. I have a quick
Coffee
question
time.
for Andrea, because this just came up when we were talking about tariffs. I basically was wondering if you ever present the capital planning process and how you were shifting dollars and things like that. Do you ever present it as a revenue generator versus a savings?
Yes.
Yes. How do you do that?
When you say it, you just mean capital in general?
That's right. So like you're taking store data, revenue data, and then doing calculations on, downtime. You mentioned it improved your downtime, those kinds of things. Like what do you?
Yeah, so I think if we're looking at, let's say overhead doors, for example, and overhead doors fail in a business like Valvoline, if our overhead door is not operational, we're not serving customers in a bay and maybe all the bays. So the revenue argument there is if I can keep our overhead doors working, functional, and if we can proactively either get a system in place and talk to Jim. Jim's put some amazing systems in place in this last month, but over the last couple of years here. If we invest in that on the front end, we're actually able to drive more revenue through our stores, not just in that moment in that day by keeping the bays open, but also by showing that we're reliable, that we're reliably open, that if a customer shows up, if we have 3 bays, they're all working, right? They can go into any of those bays and have their oil changed in 15 minutes. So quick, easy, trusted. That's what Valvoline is known for, and that's what we want to contribute on the maintenance and facilities side too, is allowing our teams to generate that revenue. So that's the sell there for capital. And Jim mentioned investing as a part of the maintenance program, investing in equipment that we know is going to either be short or subject to increased tariffs significantly. And I think, as we all know, the budget that gets cut is the expense budget, right? So whether it's facilities and maintenance being looked at as a place where budget needs to be cut, or if Jim is pivoting to say, you know what, hey, I need to use these dollars that I was going to allocate somewhere else to make this other investment because it's right for the business. Yes, he's shorting a different part that he had planned, but it's not unlike what we do every day, right? When the budget is cut at the end of the quarter because we need to make our expense line, same. He's just pivoting in a different way. So I think all of these are business decisions that we make as facilities and maintenance leaders. I think everything goes back to revenue. It's why we're here. We're keeping our buildings open, our people safe and comfortable. And if we can just link that to a metric that matters to the executive team, that's the job.
Awesome answer. We have time for one more, Shannon? One more question?
Oh, yes.
Oh, we said uno más. I was channeling my Espanol last night because it was Cinco de Mayo. I'm like, más o menos? Ooh, that came from high school. Spanish, más o menos.
I brought my own microphone. I have a question. I'll
Yep.
come out from behind this cement pillar. Hello, it's me, the marketer. I have a question about how you interact with marketing. So in a lot of instances, your facilities are also an expression of your brand. When you need to make decisions to cut your budget, how are you prioritizing? It's really more of a question for the operators on the panel, but how are you making decisions about what to cut if you need to make do with less in times where there are changes that have been introduced?
So marketing is as important as the rest of us, right? As the rest of the job. So I actually, in our remodel program, we just partnered with our signage person to make sure that we're updating signage when we move forward in our next fiscal year, so that the brand aligns with the other work that we're doing inside the building. I feel very lucky at Valvoline because there is an understanding that brand and marketing are of extreme importance to what we do. And so we as a company do invest in marketing, and it's not something that I've seen get cut. But I'm using metrics from marketing. Actually, I've partnered with them to put some measurable KPIs on our remodel program and demonstrate the value there through increased customer count or NPS actually, or our OSAT. And so that's all in partnership with marketing. I think marketing is a great partner, often forgotten on the facilities and maintenance side. But really we work together. And I think if we can leverage your metrics and you leverage ours and find opportunities to place brand in new locations or standardized brand, that's really critical. And I mentioned the design review. That's another piece where marketing is a key partner, where we're making sure we're partnering with operations and that the stores look the same, right? We go from one location to another out of 900. Ideally, they look the same. So.
I'm glad I passed to Andrea because I had a short answer. Our worlds do not collide, so it would never cross over a budget. There's no collaboration. So if I need to find budget cuts, I'm turning the music off and the lights off and not dipping into marketing. So totally separate.
So interesting. Just like we were talking about earlier, like same problems, same high-level problems, but completely different scenarios, right? So like, interesting. Okay, well, thank you, panelists. Can you stand up and take a bow or curtsy?